Jante mam janah sukrutinarjuna artho jijnasur artharti jnani cha bharatar sabaha. O best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute.
So last time we understood the four kinds of dushkritina, people who are miscreants, who don't come to Krishna. Namam dushkritina mudha prapadyante naradhama. Maya prahita jnana asurim bhavam asrita. Four kinds of people, right? So this time we are now reading the four kinds of Mahatmas who come to Krishna. So great personalities. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino. So last time was dushkritino. This time we're talking jana sukritino Arjuna. Artho jigyasur artharthi jnanacha bharata sabha. So best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service. Pious as in people who are good, or punya. Piety means punya. So people who are on the positive side. Four kinds of people. So distressed. So when in difficulty, people come to God. Like, please help me. Even if they don't believe in God, when in distress and no options are open, even the most atheistic people tend to believe in God and pray to God that if there is a God, please help me, kind of a thing. So I'll start with a little story. There was this, so this was actually a story, real life story narrated by His Holiness Badrinath Maharaj to me while I was driving him. So this is happening in San Diego, in California. So this lady, she decides that she had a breakup. She was in a lot of distress, and she didn't find any meaning to life, living life without her beloved. So she decided, you know what, no point. All people are just selfish, and I'm going to end my life. And she was a very, one of those people who are like very planned and organized and everything. So she really planned and organized her suicide. And according to psychologists, that's a very dangerous thing, because when people are disorganized and working on the kind of, if they're suicidal on the cuff, then they're likely to kind of back off. They've not thought through it. So when they say, oh my God, I'm going to give up my life, they're supposed to back off. But when people plan for their suicide, they're very, very dangerous, because it's like cold-blooded murder. Like, they've thought through everything, and they're more likely to succeed in their attempt of taking their life. So this lady was like that. She was very thoughtful. She made the arrangements in her bathtub. She put the whatever blade or whatever she was going to use to cut her wrist or whatever. So she made the whole arrangement in her apartment. She walked down the street and sat down in a park bench, just praying to God. She didn't believe in God, but said, if there is God, if you exist somewhere over there, right, this is your time to prove to me that you exist. And she prayed like that, and she said, I'm going to walk 4 blocks. So in the US, the system is like, it's divided by blocks. So in every block there are houses, and then next block, there are crossings and blocks. So it's very organized like that. So she said, I'm going to walk, I think 4 blocks or 6 blocks, I forget, block. And that's the time you have to prove to me that you exist. And that's it. Once I get into my apartment, I'm going to end my life, and it's all over. Of course, there's, future lives that she obviously didn't know, but that was her understanding. I'm going to end it all. It's going to all come to an end. And she started walking, praying to God like that. She started walking. And there was Harinam Sankirtan, so for those, if you don't know what that means, that's basically devotees, brahmacharis, and grihasthas who go on singing Hare Krishna on the streets, which is quite prevalent. In wherever there's ISKCON temple, generally devotees tend to go out on Harinam, especially on weekends. So that way, giving the holy name to all living entities, who are passing by and who might not come to the temple, bringing the holy name to the streets. So such a team of devotees were chanting and dancing on the street, and mridanga playing and kartas clinging. And this lady just looked at them and saw they're happy, and she was about to take her life. And she's like, she grabbed one of those people and said, how come you're happy? I'm not happy like you guys. Either you guys are completely mad and on drugs, or there is something you have that I don't have, and I would like to know. And this person said, well, you really want to know? Come with us back to the temple. We're on our way to the temple. And this lady went with them to the temple. And of course, you know what happens when you are with the Hare Krishnas. You eat prasadam, you see the deity, you're in a friendly atmosphere, generally speaking. In India, it can be a little unfriendly sometimes because it's so big. ISKCON has become very, very crowded almost in India. But Western world, there is not much people, so everybody's treated very with a lot of attention. So she just moved into the temple, and by the time Badrinath Maharaj was telling me the story in the car, he was telling me, well, next month she's getting married. She found a wonderful man for herself, and her life has completely changed, and she's going to get married. So distressed, right? So a lot of times this happens where people, out of their worries and miseries, they come to God. And doesn't matter. You've come to Krishna. Even if you don't know who he is, he knows who you are, and he knows who he is. So he reciprocates. I can give you many such stories, but let's see. So the first one is distressed. The second one is desire of wealth. Right? So desire of wealth. So this is basically, sometimes people are in financial trouble, especially us startups, right? So most of us, we tend to have difficulties financially. Like, Krishna, please give me money, right? So that's another category of people who come to Krishna. And Krishna knows this. See, he's stating it in the Bhagavad Gita, means he actually knows what kind of people come to him. So he's categorizing it. So first is distressed. Second is, needs money. I'll tell another story, if that's okay with you. So this is happening in Ukraine. His Holiness Niranjana Swami he's an inspiration to me. He's an American by birth, but he's dedicated his whole life in growing and the movement, the Hare Krishna movement, in Russia and Ukraine, and that's that area, USSR kind of area. So a lot of temples, a lot of devotees. In fact, outside India, that's the highest congregation. And all glories to Niranjan Maharaj for doing that. So Niranjan Maharaj was trying to get permission to do Harinam Sankirtan in a very popular park in Ukraine. And so Ukraine is a very cold city. As you know, Russia is a very cold place. So summer is very less. It's 3 months of summer and rest is winter. You cannot even go out and do Harinam kind of things, activities in the winter. It's so cold. It's almost brutal. And especially wearing a dhoti and doing that is, trust me, for us men, it's very difficult. So Niranjan Maharaj had applied for permission to do Harinam in the park. And by the time the permission came, it was very late. And already it was like autumn, and autumn is like not our kind of autumn. It's very cold, like it's already close to minus. And devotees were like, Maharaj, now no point going to the park. We got the permission so late, so we shouldn't do it. And Maharaj said, at least we'll chant for the trees. Let's go. Let's go. At least we'll chant to the trees and the grass. They will hear and they'll get benefited. If nobody is there in the park, no problem. We will just chant for the trees and the birds and the grass and all the living entities there. And so they did. They went to the park and they did Harinam. There was nobody there except for one person. And this person was sitting on top of a tree branch. And the devotees looked at him like, what is he doing up there? And he looked at the devotees. What are they doing here, singing and dancing in the middle of a cold afternoon? Regardless, he kind of jumped down and he started talking to the devotees and also dancing and chanting. And he said, what you guys doing? Can I be part of you? Can I be part of your team? They said, yeah, sure. We'll dance all the way back to the temple. You can dance back with us, right? So he said, okay, that's fun. So he went to the temple, and next day, he stayed the night at the temple, ate prasadam, stayed with the devotees. And next day, as he was leaving, some devotee offered him, hey, can I drive you to where you wanted to go? They're like, yeah, can you drive me back to the park? My home is close by to that park. And they said, okay. So this devotee drove him back to the park, if I can remember correctly. Maybe it was some other place, but forgive my memory. So as this person got off the car, he told that devotee, I was on top of that tree because I was tying the rope from which I could hang myself. And I had given up on life. I'd given up on happiness. I'd given up on everything. And seeing you guys, my faith got restored, that I just didn't know, but happiness exists, God exists, and good people like you exist. So thank you for reinstating my faith on humanity. And, that person obviously was very, very shocked and happy at the same time. And this person, who was going to kill his life, ended up not killing himself and going back to normalcy. But the point is, that is also, there are so many, I'll be happy to share more stories. So let me think about the desire of wealth. I'll give my own story, I guess. So, most of you know about my background, coming from, so my second year in college, there was separation of my parents, and there was difficulty with the money aspect and building a startup, while being in college. So I needed a lot of money, not only to pay my bills, my tuition, but also to actually build my startup. And every time we would go to a business plan competition, there would be a money, prize money attached to it. And we needed that money, me and my co-founder, we needed that money to grow our startup. And every time, so at that time I was eating meat, right? So I was not a vegetarian yet. But I told my best friend, I said, hey, Edward, we're going to make sure during our these competitions, we won't eat meat. We'll be vegetarian to please Krishna, so that we win the competition. And you won't believe me, it worked. Every Friday to Sunday, we would be traveling all over US and Canada to various business plan competitions. And we were practically winning, if not first place, at least second or third place. And each one of those had monetary price value to it. And what happened was, very interestingly, from Friday to Sunday, we were big vegetarian. And he and I both got used to the fact of, that it's okay for a few days to be vegetarian. It's not so bad. We're not missing meat. And slowly, Krishna kind of tricked us into the system, if I may say so. So Prabhuji, my mentor, he would bring prasadam to my campus. So one day a week. So that day we would not eat non-veg also, because he would bring food for our like Philosophy Friday. We used to call it Krishna Talks on campus. So all the extra prasada would stay with me, because I was the student president of the student organization on campus that was doing preaching. So I would have plenty of vegetarian prasadam for almost 2-3 days. So, weekends not eating meat, weekdays Prabhuji's extra prasadam. And before I knew, I was like, you know what, it might be okay to become vegetarian. And I came to India. My mother and I were going to Mayapur. My mother was not okay with me being a vegetarian for initially, because I'm not the most strongest person, and without meat and fish, what will happen to my son, kind of thought. So, but when we ate prasadam at Mayapur for 3 days in a row, and there was Rath Yatra, and we had chappan bhog and things like that, my mother was like, if vegetarian food can be this good, you can give up. And so from that day onwards, I gave up meat and fish and eggs and all that. Maybe not eggs. Eggs maybe I later on give up, but yeah, at least meat and fish and all I gave up that day onward. So like that, Krishna kind of used that. We went for winning the prize money. Really, we were being vegetarian with the prize money. So that's the thing behind it. But Krishna somehow used that to kind of transform us, both of us. So desire of wealth, and then inquisitive. So this is true for a lot of devotees who are really like, high grade devotees. So people who want to know, they're just curious, what is this Krishna consciousness all about, right? So like I shared that story of Trinakarta Prabhu in that forest finding the Krishna book. Some of you might remember that. There are other stories. I'm trying to think. Devotees coming to just find out who Krishna is. Oh yeah, this is a cool one. So, so as Hare Krishna movement was growing in communist Russia, this is another Russian story. So as it was growing in communist Russia, KGB, which is the secret spy agency of Russia, they decided to send one of their spies to the temple, because ISKCON, as you know, is incorporated in the United States. So they saw ISKCON as an American organization and who are here to spread theism. And they were like atheistic mostly, at that time, they were also torturing devotees and all that for spreading God consciousness in Russia. Anyway, so long story short, the spy came to the temple, and he was told by the government to live with the devotees like devotees and be friends with them and stay there for 6 months and figure out what is a real story inside, if there is some American involvement, are they spies, etc. So this spy came and he said, okay, what is it that I have to do to stay with you guys? And they said, we are all monks. You have to be a monk to stay in the temple. So as a monk, you have to shave off your head, wear dhoti kurta tilak, wake up 3 a.m. in the morning, do Mangal Arati, and, do book distribution, and, etc., etc. Eat only prashadam, vegetarian food, etc., etc. So this, KGB spy, he was like, okay, it was part of his job, so he didn't mind. I mean, they're trained to do even far worse things than waking up 3 o'clock in the morning. So he did that, and day after day he was doing that, all the things that brahmacharis do, waking up early in the morning, Mangalarati, chanting 16 rounds, and going out on book distribution, and preaching and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam classes and discussing that amongst the devotees, and Sunday feast, and all of that a monk goes through. And after a few months, he was completely transformed. And he was feeling awful that he came in as a spy, and he didn't want to go back to his government job. And so after 6 months, he was feeling great guilt within his heart. And he went to the temple president and he said, I want to, share something with you. I am a KGB spy, and I came here to spy on you guys. But by all the association, I have become a devotee, and I have a great appreciation for Krishna consciousness. And I want to pursue this. I want to be a monk. I don't want to be a spy anymore. But I want your permission. That will you allow me to do that? Because I don't know anything. How you would perceive me now that I've told you my real identity. And the temple president was obviously very scared, because Russia is not like a free country. And he was like, whoa, you're a spy and the government is after you. Well, and if you give up the government, they might come after us. So there was a lot of controversy there, but I don't know what happened really after that. But the beauty of it is, somebody who just came out of curiosity, what do they do? Who are they? Even those can be transformed by Krishna, by the association of devotees, by prasadam, by hearing Krishna katha, and by chanting of the holy name, right? So that's the beautiful power of Krishna consciousness. And then comes he who's searching for knowledge of the absolute. So this is a very rare thing. There's a very rare thing, and actually later on Krishna will talk about this, that these are the people who stay. So the first 3 category, they might leave. So Artharthi, one is looking for money, might leave. Like, okay, big deal. Got the money, and after it, they're gone. The distressed, Okay, problem solved. Krishna solved my problem. Thank you very much. Moving on with life. The inquisitive, okay, these people are good people. Okay, I don't want to be part of it, but good. Stay, do what you're doing. Very good. I'll give some donation, maybe at most. People are searching for God. That's a very, very rare category of people. And those people actually stay. Generally speaking, the retention rate is far higher. Like when we do Facebook ads and whatnot, there are people who just click, for the sake of clicking, liking and whatnot. But there are people who like save the post, or they will share the post, or they take a screenshot of the post. These people are supposed to be high retention, right? And so Facebook targets, the algorithm targets them more with the ads, so they convert, they're more likely to convert. So similarly, in the case of those who are searching for God, searching for truth, such people are more likely to be lifetime devotees. And in my case, again, I bring my personal story of how I came to Krishna consciousness. This was my story. I had been looking for God for a very long time. From the age of 5, in fact, I was meditating, reading books, going to various temples, babas, sannyasis, and all that. But I would not, there was something lacking. There was no clarity, crystal clear clarity that today, thankfully, Krishna has gifted us. That wasn't there. And as I was searching through this, I obviously ended up in college in my teenage years. And there, one day I saw in my mailing list all the events happening on campus. One event was karma theory by some sannyasi. So it happened to be my Guru Maharaj, actually, His Holiness Rama Swami. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Because first thing I did after reaching Chicago was I wrote a letter to Ramakrishna Mission and another letter to ISKCON, asking that, hey, I want to know about God. I want to be part of a spiritual movement. Please, can you respond? Can you guide me through it? And nobody responded. Neither ISKCON responded, nor Ramakrishna Mission. But one of my uncles is a high-level sannyasi in Ramakrishna Mission. So his friend was a temple president of Ramakrishna Missions. That's where I got my contact, and I went there. But I found it very dry and boring. It's like mantras I don't understand, some ritual, and after ritual there is some dinner, and there is like people are talking about work and what does your husband do, what does your wife do, or which school does your child go to, and that kind of discussion. Nothing about spirituality. Not even the sannyasis were talking about anything to do with spirituality. So I was disappointed. And then this email comes, and I'm like, finally, I'm going to hear something about spirituality. I've always been eager to know. And karma theory, sounded very interesting. But it coincided with my math class, differential equation, I still remember. So I decided that I'll finish the math class and then go. Generally, Indian events I generally start late. So I'll finish up my math class, and by the time they'll start. So I finished my math class and I ran to Harmon Union building, I still remember. And as soon as I entered that classroom, I saw a person in saffron walking out of the other door. That was my Guru Maharaj, walking out of the other door. And I was like, oh my God. There was a sannyasi on campus. I had the opportunity to learn about Krishna, and I missed that opportunity. And you won't believe me, I literally had a heart attack. But there was this one devotee. He was very sweet. His name was Rohit Prabhu. He said, oh, don't worry. Here is a laddu for you. So it's not really a laddu. In the US, we call it Simply Wonderful. So it's like you take some, dried milk and condensed milk and butter, and you make a ball out of it. So let's call it Simply Wonderful. So he gave me a Simply Wonderful laddu, and he said, give me your email address and name and phone number. So I gave it to him. He took it down. I obviously didn't expect anybody would call me. And that's it. I still remember that walk from Harmon Union building to McCormick Student Village where I stayed. That was like a maybe 7 minutes walk. And I was howling and crying that I missed the opportunity to meet a Krishna devotee and to learn about Krishna. I was crying so much. Even my mother called and I just said, I cannot talk to you. And I just cried and cried, and I just went to sleep crying. To my surprise, next morning, there was an email from my mentor, Nityananda Pran Prabhu. And he wrote a very sweet email saying, thank you for coming to this event. It was a kind of copy-paste email, but I was ecstatic that, oh, now I thought, seeing the name Nityananda Pran Das, I thought this is probably Maharaj, because I didn't know Swami Das, difference and all. So I thought, okay, this is that same sannyasi writing to me. So I was ecstatic. I wrote a 3-page email. I gave a website link that I had created for Krishna. I was just first year in college. I already built a website for Krishna, right? So I gave all that. I was like, this is how much I want to know, and this is my interest, and this and that. And I was going on and on. So he said, oh, wonderful. I come to IIT every Sunday, so you should come meet me. So I was like very happy. So I went there, and there was this man who had shaved head and was wearing pant shirt. And I was looking for the sannyasi. I was like, where is the saffron clad monk? And it was him. And I was like, oh, I don't want to hear Krishna Katha from a normal, common person. I want to hear it from a sannyasi. That was my mood. And Prabhuji spoke about Bhagavad Gita, and I was arrogant like anything. I was like, oh, I know this, and I gave counter arguments and this and that. And that was my first interaction with my mentor. And I never thought I would see him again. The rest is history. But the point is that eagerness, I strongly feel that day, there was this hankering from my soul, to know about Krishna and to get guided into spirituality. And that was what really maybe attracted Krishna's, or maybe, sorry, it's causeless mercy. But that had something to do. I was so eager, that helped to at least absorb the knowledge and be there when the opportunity was given, right? So that was before I became a desirous of wealth. That was before startups had all started. This was my first month in Chicago, my first year in college, first month in the US. This thing happened, and then onwards, Prabhuji's association, his guidance and whatnot, and slowly Krishna consciousness began. And second year in college only, when my startup started and all. But the point is that the reason why I went into great lengths is to kind of portray here that there are 4 kinds of people, and Krishna knows that these kinds of people come. And if we see them, if we see any kind of these people, we should also encourage them to somehow or other connect with Krishna. Because later on, Krishna will say, he sees them as Mahatma. We know Mahatma Gandhi had a lot to do with freeing India. But spiritually speaking, Krishna sees these people as Mahatma. Even the person who's coming to Krishna, my dear Krishna, give me money. Krishna is saying, oh, what a great person. Because he's come to me asking for money. Or he's taken my shelter for distress from material problems. Or he's curious to know about me. Or he's actually interested to learn about me. Wow, right? So Krishna considers these 4 kinds of people great personalities because just the fact that they came to him. Right? That's Krishna's level of mercy and magnanimity. So let's look at the purport. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profits or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. This is called pure devotional service. So as much as these 4 categories are considered Mahatmas, we are all aspiring for pure devotee level, right? Pure unalloyed devotee. And that is being mentioned here from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukullena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Uttama. So Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, devoid of all materialistic desires. This is pure bhakti. We are not there yet. We might have glimpses of it, but this is pure bhakti. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karma adi anavritam. So jnana or knowledge, dry speculation, or karma, activities that are like pious activities. Jnana karma adi, etc. Anavritam, without being covered by all those things. Anukullanya Krishna Anushilanam. Anukullanya is being favorable, accepting those things that are favorable towards Krishna consciousness, which by default means rejecting those things that are unfavorable towards Krishna consciousness. So anukulyena Krishna anushilanam. Anushilanam means to practice Krishna consciousness, to practice pure bhakti. That means practicing, accepting those things that are favorable to my Krishna consciousness and rejecting those things that are unfavorable to my Krishna consciousness. So anukulyena Krishna anushilanam, that is bhakti uttama. That is the highest form of bhakti. Right? So Srila Prabhupada is helping us. So as Krishna is talking about kind of glorifying these four kinds of persons, the gateway of devotee, Prabhupada is also giving us an end goal. Then what does a pure devotee look like? A pure bhakta, also the definition is given here, that such a person is practicing, being not covered by karma, jnana, ashtanga, and all the other varieties of religion, focus purely on pure Krishna bhakti and practicing things that are favorable to Krishna and rejecting those things that are unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. When these four kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for the devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them, without spiritual goals, for them, devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come to contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. So by some means, if we come in contact with a pure devotee, we can also become pure devotees. And by fortune, we have all received the association of Srila Prabhupada through his purports. We have association of His Holiness Ramapat Swami Maharaj when he came and spoke to us at Philosophy Friday. So we have had association of pure devotees. So we have the hope of becoming pure devotees. Those who are always busy with fruitive activities come to the Lord in material distress, at that time associate with pure devotees and become in their distress devotees of the Lord. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God, and they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotional service and thus transcend knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma and come to the personal conception of Godhead by grace of the Supreme Lord or his pure devotee. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. As long as such a purified stage is not attained, devotees in transcendental service to the Lord are tainted with fruitive activities, the search for mundane knowledge, etc. So one has to transcend all these before one comes to the stage of pure devotional service. So that's a very high goal. We are not, most of us are not there yet. I don't know if there are any pure devotees here in this group, but the point is that's a nice goal to attain. We should not force ourselves to go in that direction, because what happens is sometimes we artificially force ourselves to become so-called pure devotees, and there's something called the pure devotee syndrome, where we start thinking we are pure devotees just because we are wearing dhoti kurta tilak, we are chanting 16 rounds and whatnot, right? So that is also a problem when we think self-proclaimed pure devotees. A pure devotee never thinks he's a pure devotee. He thinks everybody else is doing so much, and I have still a long way to go. Like Radharani, that's how she thinks. Everybody's serving Krishna so beautifully. I wish I could serve like them. But because I'm not able to serve like them, let me serve them so they can make Krishna more happy, right? So pure devotee always trying to be servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. That's humility. So pure devotee never thinks pure devotee. If you're thinking you're a pure devotee, know that you're in Maya, because that's what the system is, you know. But yes, it's not like pure devotees are stupid, right? Like Srila Prabhupada. There's humility and there is also reality, where one acknowledges, yes, you know, I can remember Krishna all the time. My life is dedicated to Krishna's purpose. I'm not overcome by lust, greed, envy, pride, illusion. And maybe I am a pure devotee. Like Srila Prabhupada said, maybe since I don't have these other qualities, maybe I am a pure devotee. So you know, it's nothing wrong to acknowledge that, but to be bragging about it is also kind of the opposite of it. Like if somebody says, I'm the most humble person in this entire universe, you know, that's bragging, right? So yeah. All right. Any questions on this topic? 4 kinds of pious people. No questions? Okay, moving on.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Krishna.
Prabhuji, I just wanted to clarify one thing, that these 4 kinds of people, maybe they are desiring wealth or they want the solution of their problems. They might not know the concept that Krishna is God, but still they are like coming to like God's help. So will that also count in this, or like
Yes.
how is the thing?
Yes. Somehow or other, if somebody comes to Krishna, even if they don't believe it, that's fine. Okay. Like in fact, when we do book distribution, you know, we at least I do it. You know, I have people touch the Bhagavad Gita, because even if they don't know the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna personified, still they get the benefit of touching Krishna, and that's where the devotional seed gets planted.
Okay, Prabhu. And Prabhuji, in India, there is a concept that people think Krishna is also one another demigod, or so if they also by chance come to Krishna, just thinking him as a demigod only, just as a devata or a super person with superpowers, so that also counts in this.
Yes.
Okay, Prabhu.
That's the merciful nature of Krishna. Doesn't matter. Even one who doesn't know Krishna exists, like Gajendra story, right? The elephant said, is there a God, supreme being, who can help me? And there came Lord Narayan flying in Garuda. So regardless, even if the person is atheist and has been like Ajamila story, at the last minute of his life, Narayan, and the Lord sent Vishnuduta. So Krishna is incredibly merciful, incredibly, and that's the beauty of the next verse. So let me read the next verse also today. Yeah, we have time. Somebody wants to read the Sanskrit?
Yes, Prabhuji. Te samjnani nitya yukta ekha bhaktir visishyate priyo hi jnanino tyartham aham sacha mama priyaha. Of those, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best. For I am very dear to him and he is dear to me.
So here, Krishna is not talking about the pure devotees, right? Or at least those who are in that direction of pure devotional service. So he mentions that these are great people who come to me with desire for money, distress, inquisition, and wanting to know the philosophy. But for those, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged. So why are we reading Bhagavad Gita? Because we don't want to believe in dogma. We don't want to believe in just, okay, somebody says Krishna is God, and okay, God. We want to know who God is. We want to know what he wants us to do. We want to know how he wants us to live our life. We want to know how he designed this universe, so that we know how to live in abidance or abide by his laws, right? So that's why it's important to know. So full knowledge. So Krishna is saying one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best. So knowingly, so as Krishna asked, somebody doesn't know Krishna as God, that he is a demigod or he's just a super human being. Fine, you still get the benefit, But those who knowingly, one who knows Krishna as the Supreme Person of Godhead from scriptures and has taken the effort to understand Krishna, which is all of you. So such a person, Krishna is saying, there's even more, that he says, he is dear to me, right? You're dear to Krishna. That one who with full knowledge is always engaged in my pure devotional service is the best. And I am very, very dear to him, and he is dear to me, or she is very dear to me. Right? So that's the idea, that so there are levels of reciprocity. Yeah, those persons are great people, Mahatmas. But there are guests who come to your house. There are friends you share your heart with. And there's your family who you constantly take care of, you protect, you provide, you nourish, etc. Right? So there are different levels of intimacy. So here Krishna is saying that such a person is very dear to me. Intimacy. And later on in the 18th chapter of at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will say that the person who shares this knowledge, there's nobody more dear to me than that person. So here, yes, somebody who's serving Krishna, wonderful, but somebody's preaching this knowledge. Now you know why I'm doing Philosophy Friday. Such a person is nobody more dear to him than that. And if you see great personalities like Narad Muni doing that, Lord Brahma doing that, even Ananda Sesh, it is said, Ananda Sesh, the snake on which Lord Narayan is lying, Lord Vishnu is lying down, through all these different hoods, they're chanting the names of Krishna from creation to annihilation without repeating a single name. Krishna has so many names. From creation to annihilation, that's 311 trillion years approximately. All those hoods of Anantasesh is chanting Krishna's names. So Lord Brahma spoke the Brahma Samhita. He downloaded, first Krishna gave him all the knowledge of Vedas, and he gave that knowledge to Narad Muni. Narad Muni in turn gave that to Vyasa. Vyasa gave that to Madhvacharya, and like that, our disciplic succession is coming through. So Brahma is a preacher, right? Narad Muni is a preacher. All the great personalities, Lord Shiva is a preacher. Lakshmi Devi is a preacher. So the other sampradayas, the four sampradayas that we have, right? Does anybody remember what are the four sampradayas? Or who are the main heads of those four sampradayas? Ours is Lord Brahma.
So I can tell the name of the four sampradaya, like Sri Sampradaya, Kumar Sampradaya, Brahma Sampradaya, or Rudra Sampradaya.
And who are the main leaders of those sampradayas?
Ramanacharya. Actually,
Okay.
right
Somebody
now,
else. Okay, you have done your part. Let's hear somebody else share the.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Madhvacharya is our Gaudiya Parampara head. So
Ours is Lord Brahma.
Oh, Acharya, I thought it's Acharya.
No, the actually heads from whom the disciplic succession start.
Okay.
Who Krishna directly spoke to. So that's ours is Lord Brahma.
Ours is Lord Brahma. And then Rudra Sampradaya is Shiva,
Yes.
not Shiva. Then Sri Sampradaya is Lakshmi.
Correct.
And Kumara Sampradaya is Kumaras.
The four Kumaras, yes.
Four Kumaras.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And nice to see you first. First time actually I'm seeing you. So thank you for your camera, turning it on. All right. So those are the four sampradayas, and those are the four personalities, and they're all preachers. If you see the Bhagavatam, they are speaking glories of the Supreme Lord. And so that's the ultimate secret, really, is when we first learn, we become strong in our foundation, we apply that learning, and we become examples of those qualities. And then from our realization, whatever little realization we have, we can start sharing that knowledge. If we don't have realization, we should not talk about it. Like, for example, like if you ask me about Radha Krishna Rasa Leela dance, I will not talk about it because I don't have realization for such high level esoteric stuff. But my realization is very, very basic Bhagavad Gita level, right? So I only speak about Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, and Bhakti Shastri books. Srimad Bhagavatam, once in a while. Recently, I gave a Bhagavatam class in Canada, but very rarely I give Srimad Bhagavatam classes. because my realizations are limited. As it grows more, I'll share more. But when one shares beyond one's realization, one goes in the danger of speaking something that they don't understand. That means they might not be able to answer questions, and they might give misinformation. Right? So that's the whole point, that Krishna, so one who is in knowledge, coming to Krishna and dedicating their time and engagement in Krishna's service, such persons are the dearest to him. Okay, 18th text, somebody wants to read? By the way, one more thing I wanted to share, since Santosh Prabhu in the WhatsApp group, he was mentioning about the difference between these classes versus I am teaching Bhagavad Gita. So because our government, the way it's built, it's secular, there is a separation of religion and academics. So even if they want, they can't talk about bhakti as bhakti. They have to purely talk about it from a subjective perspective. Whereas in Philosophy Friday, we can actually delve deep into what is the real crux of the matter, which is Krishna Bhakti. So that's the that's the difference. And yeah, we can actually go in that direction rather than academic exercise of just learning shlokas or learning some management principle. But the whole point is depending on Krishna, praying to Krishna for mercy, and building a relationship, reigniting our relationship with Krishna so that we can move towards him. Right? So that's a little bit I want to share. Okay, text 18. Somebody wants to read the Sanskrit?
Yes, Prabhuji. Udara sarva evaite jnanitva atmaiva me matam astitaha sahi yuktatma mam eva nutatmam gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal.
This is a big statement by Krishna. He's saying all these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. That means they're great souls, Mahatma, right? But he who is situated in knowledge of me. See, knowledge is very important. Knowingly loving Krishna and unknowingly loving Krishna. Some people are like Mirabai, for example. Oh, okay, Krishna, wonderful. But want to understand the philosophy, and rooted in that philosophy, knowingly going towards Krishna, that person has a whole different categorization in Krishna's mind. Situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Krishna is saying, I consider him to be an equal, just like my own self. Imagine that. He's not seeing you as just another jiva or living entity. He's like, you're just like me. I'm seeing you as equal. And being engaged in my transcendental loving service, he's sure to attain me. Krishna's giving assurance here. The highest and most perfect goal. The highest goal that is impossible to attain for anyone, almost like 99.99999% of living entities, is to attain Krishna Bhakti. As Lord Brahma says in Brahma Samhita, that even going at the speed of mind, the great munis cannot attain Krishna Bhakti or Krishna. He's not to be found. But for a devotee, he's instantly attainable. Krishna is instantly attainable. Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. Durlabha to munis and everybody else who are speculating on the Jnana platform, on the Karma platform, on the Ashtanga platform. But to his Bhakta, Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. To his devotees, he's very easily accessible. We say Krishna, Krishna says, yes. What can I do for you? Hare Krishna, Krishna says, yes, I'm here. Right? So that's how accessible Krishna is to devotees. Why? Because of this reason. When one knowingly with knowledge comes to Krishna, he considers that person as equal to him, to be as good as himself. And being engaged in my transcendental service is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. So Mother Yashoda, right? So Damodar month, we have 1 week left. this is very interesting how this whole thing works. Mother Yashoda ties Krishna up. Firstly, Krishna doesn't want to be tied up, right? So Mother Yashoda is like, I'm going to tie you up. And little baby Krishna, whose waist is this big, 900,000 cows, 9 lakh in a rope that is used to tie 9 lakh cows. I was actually looking from Krishna's house, that is Nandgaon. From there, I was just looking, and this devotee who is actually a descendant of Nand Baba's neighbor, he was showing like, this is where used to be the 900,000 cows of Nand Baba. And I was just looking like, as far as your eyes can go, it's like a huge place. Like all those ropes Mother Yashoda got in to tie little waist of Krishna, and Krishna just like, I don't want to be tied up. I don't want to be tied up. I don't want to be tied up. But Mother Yashoda was so determined, and she was perspiring. There's two things. There's effort of the devotee, and seeing her perspiring like that, Krishna's mercy was invoked, right? So Mother Yashoda is like, I am going to teach my son a lesson so he doesn't become a thief when he grows up. That's her mentality. She's trying to be a good mother here. And from Krishna's perspective, he's like, I want to go play. But she wants to tie me up. And she's really trying hard. And she is so dear to me. And she's perspiring. Okay, fine, let her tie me up, right? So Mother Yashoda was finally able to tie him up. And then comes little Balaram. Balaram comes in like, you see all these big things. Look at you, tied up. Who did this to you? And why can't you get out? It's like, Mother Yashoda did this. And he's like, oh, okay. That's the problem. Let me go inside. Let me try to fix this for you. Let me get her to tie you up or untie you first. So Balaram goes inside the house, goes to Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda's like, he's like, Krishna's tied up outside, can we do something about it? And the Mother Yashoda's like, he's punished. Does anybody else want to be punished in this household? And Balaram is like, nope. But he likes to run and play. That's Krishna's nature. And Mother Yashoda is like, he needs to be taught a lesson. He's stolen butter, and he is tied up, and that's his punishment. Do you want me to explain further? And Balaram is like, no, thank you. And he came out and was like, sorry, can't help you. And initially, by the way, Balaram was like, I'm going to burn down the entire universe. Who did this to you? Who can any, but he can burn down the universe, but he cannot touch a devotee because there's so much love, right? Mother Yashoda's love is so strong that even the most powerful person, Anantasesh, Balaram is Anantasesh, right? So Anantasesh with the fire from his hoods actually destroys the universe. And then again, Lord Mahavishnu, from him, the universe has come. But that same Anantasesh is helpless in front of love. And Krishna is also helpless. Both Krishna and Balaram cannot do anything. They can kill demons with weapons. Very easy, right? So even in these 4 categories of personalities, the Artharthi, the Jigyasu, all these people, Krishna is very happy to give them money, very happy to fulfill their material desires. I'm sure many of you have seen it. I keep hearing miracles happening in my life, miracles happening in my life. All wonderful things happen. Because when you come to Krishna, he's very happy to kind of give you things that are easy. But then comes this part where we want Krishna. And that's the part he's a little hesitant. It's like, whoa, you're going to have full access to me. That means, I'll be your servant in one sense, right? So I will be actually dedicated to you, and you can do anything with me. So before that, I'm going to test you before I give you that right. So the whole point is Krishna's pure devotees actually own Krishna. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said, more powerful than Krishna is Krishna Bhakti. Why? Because with Krishna Bhakti, Krishna can be purchased. And when Krishna is purchased, he cannot do anything, just like Mother Yashoda. He's tied Krishna up. He doesn't want to be tied up, but you cannot do anything. It's Mother Yashoda, bound by love. Right? That's what we read in the Damodar Ashtakam. So in this case, before giving that Krishna prema, Krishna really tests the devotee. Like, you know what? Take the removal of distress and be happy. Take the money and be happy. Don't ask to be my Lord. Don't ask to tie me up. But if somebody is like, no, all that is okay, but I want you. No, Krishna, don't distract me. I want you. I want only you. Like Duryodhan said, I want your army. Arjun said, I want you. I don't want your army. I can lose. I don't care. I want you on my chariot. Krishna is like, are you sure? Yeah. I want you. Okay, I'll be on your chariot. I'll be a charioteer. Krishna became the servant of Arjun, right? That's what happens when a devotee gets, Krishna purchases Krishna with love. Krishna becomes the devotee's servant. And there are so many instances, whether Krishna washing the feet of Sudama with his tears, whether Krishna being the driver or the charioteer of Arjuna, whether Krishna walking from Vrindavan to Bhubaneswar, or rather Puri as Sakshi Gopal, or Krishna carrying the wood for that devotee in, I'm sorry, was it Yamunacharya? I forget. In Tirupati, so many cases, even Tirupati himself, right? There was this devotee who, let me see if I have time for the story. Oh, 4 minutes. Quickly, I'll share the Tirupati story. So I'm sure you've seen the Tirupati Balaji, right? There's a little white mark over here. How many of you know what that mark is? If you know the story, I won't tell. All right, forgive me. Okay, Yogesh Prabhu knows. Yogesh Prabhu, please tell me the name of the devotee for whom that pastime was done.
It was actually done for one of the descendants of the Sampradaya. Hold on a second. Let me remember.
Just Google it and find out for me if you can.
Yeah, I'll Google it and
I
find
think
out.
Ramanujacharya had told him, okay, he saw that Tirupati Balaji,
It was Ananta Arvan.
Ananta?
His name was Ananta Arvan.
Ananta Arvan, okay. So Tirupati situation, the flowers and everything, the gardens were not taken care of. And so I think Ramanujacharya told one of his disciples that one of you have to stay back here and take care of the Lord's garden and do the gardening for him. So Ananta Arvan, as Yogesh Prabhu said, he stayed back and he was taking care of the garden and growing flowers for Tirupati. And it was wonderful. That was his focus. That was his guru's instruction. So he was very, very strict about it. And he had a whole army of people, taking care of the Lord's garden. And his wife eventually got pregnant. And she was also in the garden digging. And Tirupati actually came in the form of one of the gardeners. And he came and asked this devotee that, can I help you? Can I help you? Your wife is pregnant. She shouldn't be doing this. Let me do it. Give her rest. And he kept on saying, please don't distract us. We are doing Lord's service. Please don't bother us. Please. And Tirupati actually kept on, Balaji kept on coming to him. And the 3rd or 4th time, he said, can I please do some service? Can I do the digging instead of your wife doing it? She is pregnant. He just took the spade and hit him. And it, he was bleeding from his chin. And he's, he's a Vaishnava. Generally, Vaishnavas are not very violent people, but he was so dedicated that somebody's causing distraction. He did that. And it's like, oh my God, why did I do this? And, all that. Turns out next day, there was a mark on Balaji's chin as they opened for Mangala. They're like, who did this to the Lord? And then he realized, oh my God, it was, that was actually the personality of Godhead who came to assist in the gardening service and look what I have done. Oh my God. So that was, although, can be seen in one light that, oh, he was being very ruthless. But on the other side, actually, the Lord took it as his sincerity in his service, that he was so sincere that the Lord took it as a mark, and he still wears that mark on his chin to remind people of this wonderful devotee, right? How dedicated he is, that even his pregnant wife is prioritizing the service over that. Not saying that we should do that. Please don't do that. We should take care of our wives and children and all that. That is absolutely, it would be seen as abuse. But from pure devotee perspective, they are on a whole different platform. We should not compare ourselves to them. That was the pastime. Anyway, just wanted to share that cute little story. Okay, any questions? We are out of time anyway. Thank you very much. Happy Gopashtami and Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. Have a good night.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.